I'm going to officially call the meeting to order. I think we have a pretty good number of people here. I just see Anna Mae popped up on my screen. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. And I think everyone, we can hear you.
Good grief. I don't know what's.
Yeah. So I thought hopefully everybody got all the materials I sent. And I'm going to now see if I'm going to try to share my screen and put the agenda on our screen. But first I thought we'd go around and just say hello again to everyone. I know we did a little bit of that informally before we started. And I'd like to officially welcome all of you to the 2021 PASNet National Presidents Meeting. It's unfortunate we weren't able to be together in person, but I will tell you, and it's something I think we should talk about towards the end of the meeting, I had some real difficulty trying to find a location for us to meet if we were indeed meeting in Grand Rapids. And I'm going to talk more about that, I think, towards the end. But it's something to think about. I mean, it is really wonderful meeting in person, but this format does afford us the opportunity to maybe see other past national presidents that aren't really necessarily traveling into the meetings anymore, or that live halfway around the world, like Barb Maidment in Australia, where it's 3 o'clock in the morning at her end. So, you know, it's just something to think about as we move forward. But it's really great seeing everybody. And I hope you all had nice Thanksgivings. And I thought what we would do is when you're going through, and I'll call your name, and I just want to acknowledge that Debbie and Laura Lee are going to be co-hosts with me. Laura Lee is taking minutes, and Debbie is going to help me monitor the chat and just fill in. And hello, Barbara. I see you just came on. Great. So I think what we'll do is we'll just go through, and if you could all share with us your favorite holiday treat. We're going to be having treats at the end of our program. My friend Karen is going to be making some wonderful appetizers and beverages for us to think about for our holiday entertaining this season. But if you could just share a special holiday treat, something maybe from childhood that your mom made for you, or whatever, or something that you like to make with your for your family. So I'm going to start with Debbie.
Well, two came to my mind. One is candied orange peel. My grandmother, the one for whom I'm named, Grandmother Eleanor Hazen Williams, would do candied orange peel, and I would make myself sick eating those. Something else I remember that she made was this wonderful coconut layer cake. And to this day, I'm still trying to replicate what she did. So those are my two faves, not just one.
Okay. Laura Lee. Laura Lee. Did I lose Laura Lee? She needs to.
I am muted.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
When I get to eat the sugar cookies and the gingerbread cookies, that's my favorite holiday treat.
Okay. No argument there. And hello. And we'll go next to Barbara.
That must be me. How about sugar cookies? I love good sugar cookies.
Okay. Can't go wrong with sugar. Anything with sugar. Okay. Marilyn.
Hi. My favorite is the coconut cake, just like somebody else said. My mom made the best one too, and I've tried to replicate it, and I've come up with one I think I like. It has a pineapple filling in it. Yeah.
That sounds really good. Thank you very much, Marilyn. Diane.
Oh, well, I'm honored to be a part of this group today. And yes, if you're looking over here, I have a black eye and everything. I fell off my bike. So I don't want people to think that Susan or Will or anybody beat me up. But the one thing that I love, the Christmas treat, my grandmother used to make what we called just Christmas candy, and it's actually a praline. And if you remember the big Tupperware cake thing, she would bring that full to our house. And I'm kind of like Debbie, I would make myself sick eating those pralines. So that's one of my favorite Christmas treats.
Okay. Sounds great. All right. Let's see. Oops, the order just changed here on me. Sharon.
Well, there's two that always come to mind, I guess. One is Tribbles, which was something my grandmother made, which was a oatmeal cookie, a filled oatmeal cookie with date filling. And there's so much work, though, that I haven't made them for like 15 years, I think. But as kids, we were always had to go over to grandma's house and help make those. But here I make mint chocolate truffles, which are easy, and I give those as gifts all the time.
I'll send you my address. Okay, that sounds really good. All righty, like your backdrop. Amy. You need to unmute, Amy.
One would be my mother-in-law's homemade caramels that she would make. And I can remember we'd be leaving her house to drive to Omaha, and we'd grab a handful from the freezer to eat along the way. And they were so good. And the other is Ustakaka. Anybody know what that is?
No.
Anybody Swedish there? Okay, so it's a Swedish dessert that it takes a lot of time to make it. So they would make that around Christmas. Both of these things are from my mother-in-law, and I promised somebody I'd try to figure out how to make them, and I haven't done that yet. But it's like a cottage cheese custard baked pudding, and then you put fruit on the top of it, and it's actually very good. So
it does sound really good. We might have to, send each other some of these recipes here. They're sounding pretty good. Thank you, Amy. June. June?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yes, I think there are lots of favorites, but my favorite was we made a fruit salad. It was a cooked dressing that we used and added whipped cream and all kinds of good fruit to it. And that was always one of my favorites for Christmas. And we still do it to this day. We always have the fruit salad.
That sounds good to me. You're 5 a day there. Anna Mae.
Well, my mother made great pumpkin pie. And she didn't make sugar cookies, but they are my favorite. And this time of year, I enjoy those.
Okay, thank you. Mary Ann.
I would say my mom made honey cookies, and they start out crisp, but they mellow and get soft. And I know this is not correct for a home economist or the daughter of a federal meat inspector, but there's risks that we all take in life. It is some of the best cookie dough I've ever consumed. And when my husband was alive, we would make a batch with no intention of ever baking it. We would move that dough to the refrigerator in the garage, and I would know in the evening what he was going to do, and he would go out there and then he would bring me in some. So honey cookie dough, she hand decorated them like Santa Clauses, and they were individually bagged and hung on a Christmas tree when we were both in elementary school. So honey cookie dough and the cookies.
That sounds really, really good. Really, really good. Okay, Cheryl.
I really don't think I have any. I don't break down for much desserts, really. sweet things. My favorite dessert is, and I will break down if they have raisin pie. But you never get that for Christmas. My grandma would make my grandfather and I raisin pie because we were the only two people that liked to eat it.
I'm on your side. It's good stuff.
And then and then Sharon made me think about it. I have been making neighbors peanut butter Buckeyes for Christmas.
Those sound good too. All right. Thank you very much, Cheryl. Let's see. Christine.
So I was finding the unmute button. Our family enjoyed what was called plum pudding. It's a steamed pudding made with suet and a really good hard sauce made of rum melted over the top. So that'd be mine.
That is a royal recipe. I have the cookbooks, and that's something that they would bake at Kensington Palace.
It's an English tradition.
Yeah. It's can be quite elaborate. Emily. Oh, yeah, Emily.
Well, I'm a little bit different in that I was never a sweet eater, never have been, never will be. And it was the start of duck hunting season, and my dad was a duck hunter. So I always enjoyed those first ducks around Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Well, and Emily, that's a good point. Your treats don't always have to be sweet. They can be savory too. So, that's perfectly fine. That's what you remember most, what stands out most around holiday time. Karen Munden, hello.
Hello all. I'm recuperating from surgery from last week. But I had surgery last week, but my favorite treats are my mom's coconut pie and my grandfather's rum-based eggnog.
Okay. Well, I hope you're healing well. Thank you. Kathy Wilson.
Yep. I just had to unmute. Hi, everybody. My favorites are sugar cookies, like so many. It's something we made every year since I had my own home. We didn't really make it growing up. And also rosettes are a favorite. Do people know what rosettes are? Norwegian?
Like the lattice, like the lacy cookies?
Yes.
Yeah.
Love those. I haven't gained the skills to make them myself very well, but I'll always have some around Christmas time.
Sounds great. Okay, let's see. I'm going down through my list. Roxy, we're sharing our favorite Christmas treats, holiday treats.
Okay, well, hey, everybody. I'll have to go with Miss Emily, though. I did love Grandma's divinity, but pomegranates. That's what I remember is the pomegranates we could pick off of the tree and then trying our best to see how many we could eat without getting sick.
Without getting your fingers all red too. The juices. Yes. Okay.
I never thought about that we could grow pomegranates. What state, where were you growing pomegranates?
South Georgia.
Wow. And they grow on a tree. I never even thought about how they grow. They grow on a tree like apples? Okay.
Come on down.
Let's see now. I have this terrible feeling I'm missing someone. Is everybody? Who did I miss?
Donna.
Oh, Donna, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I like
as people are coming in, they're jumping on the list I have. So my method here has not been very foolproof. So I apologize.
A funny sugar cookie story. Several of you mentioned that was your favorite. When our three daughters were young, they could hardly wait to get to Grandma's house, my mother's house, because she would have the sugar cookies made and they'd get to decorate them. And you know how little kids like to decorate cookies. So as the girls got older and were in their own homes, they asked Grandma for her recipe to make the sugar cookies. And that was when it was true confession time. She was buying the logs at the grocery store that you just slice off. And it was just that reminder that it's not really about how the food tastes. It's the fact, it's the people and the time. And, we go to Grandma's and grandma and mother, and we all decorate the cookies. So I always laugh at the sugar cookie story. My favorite treat is peanut brittle. My late husband made wonderful peanut brittle. And when he died, everybody turned and just looked at me like, okay, where's the peanut brittle? And would help him and watch. And so the first couple years was a little rocky. Mine wasn't so good. But by the third year, they were all saying, okay, you got it, Grandma, you got it, Mom. So every year I have to make the peanut brittle. Last year I made 12 batches. That's a lot of peanut brittle, but all the grandkids get their own bag of peanut brittle and they don't share. And even the grandson that's allergic to peanuts will eat the peanut brittle and take the consequences because, again, part of it is the association with the person. And a few friends get a bag and they always know this is an honor. But it's people that were close to David. And I'm really looking now, I'm thinking, okay, which granddaughter or which daughter do I need to get going on the peanut brittle? Because quite honestly, I'm getting tired doing it. That's a lot of peanut brittle and a lot of sticky in the kitchen. But it's not something you just follow a recipe for. You have to do it by color and feel and all those kinds of things. So that's my challenge in the next 2 or 3 years, is to pass on the peanut brittle tradition.
Will Ferguson said in the chat that you should teach all of them, Donna.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. Let them duke it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. My favorite is stuffed dates. My mother would make those at holiday time, a real Italian dish and treat, and of course the sugar cookies. I have my own personal, I have a lot of culinary failures around the holiday for myself. The first time I was out on my own and I invited everyone over, I held a tree trimming party. I had a Christmas tree with virtually no ornaments. So everyone had, in order to gain admittance, they had to bring a Christmas tree ornament that they could either handmade or store-bought or whatever. So I was making cranberry compote, and I didn't read the recipe very well. So I didn't realize I was supposed to soak the cranberries in sugar or whatever for like a couple of days or whatever. So it was the tartest thing ever. And I still hear about it to this day. How many years, 47 years later, maybe, from friends that were there at that party, who are still friends with me, amazingly. Cranberries and the holiday time have a special meaning for me. So I fortunately have gotten better about reading recipes and not saving it to the last minute. But anyway, thanks everybody for sharing that. And I think you're really gonna, if you're able to stay when Karen joins us, I'm not sure how long our business part will go, but she's set to join us anytime after 4 o'clock, depending on where we stand. I think you're really going to enjoy what she has prepared for us, and hope some of you will be making some of those recipes along with her, if not trying them afterwards. So I'm going to now try to share my screen, and there we go. Let's see. Okay, that's great. So as I said, Laura Lee is our scribe today. And I submitted as part of the packet for this meeting today, the document for the minutes from September 29th, 2020. And I don't know if we need to formally approve those, but I did have Laura Lee and Debbie look them over before I sent them out. And they both thought that I captured everything that was critical from that meeting. So, I just see that it's, I guess we do have a motion to approve those meeting minutes as submitted. So if somebody would like to make that motion, we'll entertain it.
Chris Knight moves to approve the minutes.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Is there a second?
Second, Sharon Holster Day.
Thank you, Sharon. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of September 29th, 2020. All in favor, say aye.
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 I guess that was enough eyes. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. Okay, and all opposed say the same. Motion carried. Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to other business. We're going to start with the historian report. And again, Christine did prepare a report, which I sent in advance, which I hope you've had a chance to look over. But Chris, would you like to just comment, on a few points, the high points?
I guess first, even though Carol's not on with us today, thank her for continuing on. The plans, of course, to pick up the boxes didn't quite happen as easily or quickly as we had hoped. But since then, just started to do some writing for the online newsletter and been asked to write on a more regular basis. And so I actually do have one question for you, because the first topic they would like me to write on is Ellen Swallow, or I'm sorry, you know who I'm talking about. Ellen
Swallow Richards.
Richards, thank you. That's the last name. But as I was thinking about her contribution to our profession, I wonder if any of you remember back in, I want to say the 70s, if you're old enough, if you can remember, there was a campaign that NEAFCS did that was called Home Economists Make Policy, Not Coffee. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm seeing a couple nods of the head. Well, I'm trying to track down the posters. I may have those, but there's, we have such a rich history. I'm looking forward to digging out some of those things to share with members to have them think about, where we've come from, just like Carol did, and Cheryl's done as well. Our history is fun and interesting. So if anybody's got from the past president group has ideas, please let me know. But for those of you that don't remember that, Make Policy Not Coffee, that was a time when we were really trying to change our profession and professional image. And I'm pretty sure it was an AAFCS or AHEA at that time program. So looking forward to doing some more writing.
Great. And thank you. You mentioned Carol. She is on her way to Kansas City with a bus trip through her business. So she was going to try to listen in if she could, but she wasn't making any promises. So but she's going to Kansas City, and hopefully they're going to have a great time. So thank you very much, Chris. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Chris on her report? Okay, then we'll move on to our treasurer's report, and Barbara, you're up next. Hello, Barbara. I have to see if you're unmuted or not.
I'm doing this on an iPad, and it is not as cooperative as my desktop is, so I apologize.
No problem.
We have a balance of $6,387.84, and I have another $125 to add to that. We've had contributions so far this year from 12 members and 12 past presidents. So we're a little behind, about half as many as we received last year. We have already made our contribution to the awards fund for the 2021 award winner. So that's so far our only expense this year. As I noted in my report, we don't have to buy gifts for some time now because those were purchased a little over a year ago. So that's all taken care of. The only other thing that I would say is I'm still taking contributions, and I try to acknowledge those when I receive them as quickly as I can. And then I kind of bundle them to send off to our bank in Pratt, Kansas. We just have never moved it because that bank is so cooperative, don't charge us anything, and just will bend over backwards to help us out if we needed something. So can we move on into the next thing on the agenda, which would be the contribution? It's been our tradition that when a past president dies, this group makes a contribution to the endowment fund in honor of that person. And since we lost Charlotte Young this year, it is appropriate for us to do that this year. Generally, we have taken up a contribution during our meeting, and then whatever was not collected to equal $100, the treasury filled that in. Since we can't do that this year, I would move that we make a contribution to the endowment fund in memory of Charlotte in the amount of $100.
This is Donna, and I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded to make a contribution to the endowment fund of $100 in memory of Charlotte Young. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say same. Okay. The motion is carried. And thank you in advance, Barbara, for taking care of that on our behalf.
Sure. My pleasure.
And then the other thing is we do need a motion to accept Barbara's treasurer report. So can I have a motion to accept her report?
This is Roxy. I'll make a motion to accept the report.
Okay, thank you, Roxy. And a second?
I second that motion. Debbie Matthews.
Oh, okay. Debbie? I heard lots of voices there. Okay. So it's been moved and seconded to accept the treasurer's report as presented. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say same. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Okay, let me move down.
Barbara, could you please put your address in the chat for those of us who may not have it, so
Sure.
we can send that to you?
I will be glad to.
Great idea. Thank you very much. Lauren.
If I can figure out how to do it on this iPad.
If not, we'll make sure to get that out to everybody.
Thank you.
Follow up. Yeah.
It was in your initial email to us too, if people still have that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I know there are some other people that thought they'd be on the call today that are not. So that way we'll make sure we send it out after. I'll send something out after today's meeting. So that we can make sure everybody has that information. I know this is getting to be a hectic time of year, so it's, I appreciate that some things kind of fall through off our to-do lists. Okay, let's move on to the new professional award, and this is a report. I'm not sure who's going to take the lead, but Karen and Roxy were both involved in this process. So I'll turn it over to you, ladies.
Karen, do you have a preference?
Karen, you need to unmute.
Okay, guys.
I think I don't know, it might be frozen. I don't see movement there. So, Roxy, we'll see if she can chime in later.
Okay. The information was sent to Terry in regards to the winners. We had Central Region winner was Misty Harmon from Ohio. Eastern, Amber Denman, Pennsylvania. The Southern was Heather Jackson from Arkansas. And the Western was Aurora Covillo Buffington of Nevada. And out of those, the national winner was Aurora Covillo Buffington from Nevada. I do want to share just a little bit in here. It says in here, one of her cool things in her application was she transformed the previous nutrition program that was done in elementary schools only done in 13 schools. She turned that into a health and wellness program and implemented it in 5 different counties, reaching 42 schools and over 4,000, reaching over 4,000 children. That just happens to be one of the highlights that was shown in her application.
Did you have a good number of overall submissions?
I want to say that the number was not as high as last year, but you can double check if Will's on here. I don't want to start lying about something I'm not sure of. But I do remember thinking, well, I wish there were more.
Okay. All right. Karen, I see you adjusted your camera. Did you want to add anything in?
I have nothing to add.
Okay. All right. So now next year, who will be judging those? It'll be Roxy and Diane, I believe.
Yes, I think so.
Yep. Yep. So
This is Mary Ann, and I would just add that the paperweights I have sent each year to the winners. And so our paperweights now have the year on them. And so I just recently sent the one to Aurora. So that part of our job has been completed.
thank you, Mary Ann. We appreciate that very much. Thank you very much. Okay, great. All right. Anything else? Oh, you know what? I do want to just mention as part of my to-do list, and I have received updates, the biographical updates from many of you for the directory that typically would have accompanied this dossier of information I sent out to all of you, but I hadn't received many. I know there are some of you that have not yet submitted. So I wanted to give everyone a chance to do that, and also myself. I didn't, when I took this on, and of course the timing and so forth, and when we realized we weren't going to Grand Rapids, we had planned a remodeling job here at my home. And so did not expect my contractor to say, we can be there the week of November 8th. So needless to say, I had bamboo flooring put in 2 rooms in my home. We had to empty out the contents of those and so forth and so on. I mean, those of you that have gone through that, you know. So it's been a bit crazy here at my end. So I hope no one's really upset that they don't have their directory right yet, but I did want to make sure it's as complete as possible. So I will follow up with those of you and confirm that I've received what everyone's already submitted, and then try to track down everyone else's. So, and again, we don't need anything elaborate on that. And I know there's a form, and some of you have been sending your forms in with that, and I couldn't find the form. So if anyone has a blank form they can send me, that would be great, because then I can attach it and forward it on so Laura Lee has it next year. But basically we're looking to see what you've been up to this past year, both professionally and personally. And if you can send a new photo, because the format that Debbie prepared the directory in last year, and correct me if I'm wrong, Debbie, I can't open it here at my end. So I need to recreate everything. So if you had said, try to use last year's photo, I don't know that I'll be able to do that. So I will follow up with everyone.
We used Publisher here.
Yeah. So I don't know, maybe that's something Will can help us with. Never thought about that, but you know, he's such a technological wizard. He might be able to help us with that. So I'll follow up with him. But anyway, I'm hoping to get that out to everybody in time for the holidays, for some exciting reading while you're sitting up waiting for Santa to come, or wrapping gifts.
We digress just a minute on that. This is Emily. Did you happen to hear from Genevieve or Nettie Ruth?
Thank you for asking. I spoke to their family members over the course of the summer, and I meant to look at those notes again. I know one of the ladies is moved closer to is with her daughter in Florida. I can't remember which one. And the other one, I think I talked to her son. They were both having health challenges. So I have not received any recent updates, but we'll try to reach out to them again. But I didn't anticipate getting anything really from them in terms of a biographical update.
Just wondering.
Yeah. I can't remember. I'm so sorry if it who seemed to be having more difficulty of the two, but they were both, needing attention because of health conditions, health situations. So, yeah. In fact, we had a very difficult time reaching them. I can't remember now whose phone number I kept trying to call constantly. So it was very challenging to reach them. But thank you for asking, Emily. Thank you. Okay. All right. Now, when I was starting to put this meeting together this summer, Amy and I, and then I think Carol Chandler also, we were having a discussion, and Kathy, Kathy Olson, about the whole idea of revisiting some at one, and Amy, I'm going to turn this over to you, but I'll just say that there were some enhancements made for life members this year for attending annual session, that they could perhaps do a la carte type things, so that would reduce their cost for attending the entire annual session. And Amy and I just started kind of talking a little bit about that. And I think, Amy suggested, and I agree, that it's perhaps time that we revisit what kinds of membership benefits or enhancements could be made for past national presidents. And I understand at one time, and Amy has the history, that we did get some certain things that were kind of taken away when we were having some financial challenges. So I'm going to turn it over to Amy to kind of carry forth this conversation. And I'm sure we'd love to hear everyone's input on this. So Amy, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Terry. And I had told Terry yesterday, or a couple of days ago, we got our boosters yesterday, and I thought, I have no idea how I'm going to feel today. So that's why you get me like in my old sweatshirt and all of that. Because anyway, I'm all better now. So that part is good. So this was a conversation that just kind of kept going for a while. And we thought, let's just talk about it a little bit and see what we think. And it had to do with two things, basically. And one of them was the past national presidents, and when they used to get their fees waived to come to the meeting. And then the other one, then it also went into life members. And then I'm looking at my notes here. So if I'm looking down, I'm trying to figure out what we were emailing back and forth. And I'm not quite sure what they did for life members this year, because I did not do the meeting. But I think that for those who are retired and not working very much anymore, working on a fixed income makes it that spending a couple of $1,000s to go to a meeting out of pocket is a little unreasonable. And that's not going to happen. I'm not going to do that every year. And some of you may choose to do that, and that's great, but it just might not be feasible for all of us to do those things every year. And so that was part of the discussion. And back in the day, I do remember them thinking that people who were retired had all kinds of money and they could afford it. And I can say that that's not true. Not true at all. And so then a few other things that we talked about were, and we talked about it with Kathy and Carol too, and they can certainly speak a little bit more, but the topics basically that we should maybe discuss would be the registration for lifetime membership, potential of complimentary registrations for past presidents again, or even a discount, and just where we can go with this. And we might be able to get some more volunteers who are willing to work as a committee, so we could talk about this and maybe bring something up to the board. And I don't know if I left anything out, Teresa.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Because my screen has just gone totally dark.
You're just a little dot on your picture there. So.
Okay, well, I might need to close out and come back in. I just lost my entire screen. Hello?
I'm here, but
Okay.
to give you an example, this year, what we were going to do, and I apologize, I wasn't planning on going to the meeting, but I really didn't feel comfortable spending that type of money. We were going to drive through and be with you all, and then drive on to Ben and Abby's in Detroit, and it was going to work out great. And it was going to be a little lower cost and those types of things, but we don't have education or anything like that, the people who are retired. So you can decide what you want about it. I just thought maybe it was time to open it up for a little bit of discussion.
Amy, this is Roxy. I will say that I brought this up in a meeting. Seems like it would have been the first of last year. I think it was discussed. It was brought to me. I can't remember if it was yourself, Carol, or who, but I took that to the board, and I need to go back through the minutes to see what any major conversation. But I believe, is that where it started, where they did start the a la carte instead of waiving the fees? Because
I think that was for lifetime members, correct?
So
Yes.
for the
Life members.
Okay, so for the past presidents, we'll look through, but I think that's when that same thing came up, as like who would need funds.
That's good.
But
I think
let me look back and dig through some minutes.
that would be good.
This is Terry. I remember being contacted by Cindy Davis at the end of her, 2 years ago now, when she was member resources VP. And she was saying that they were looking into some enhancements for past national presidents, about maybe bringing some of those benefits back. But I never heard anything more from that. I think it had been discussed at a board meeting or something. So
I think when Terry and I were emailing back and forth with the other two, I think part of it was that we wondered if you all were interested, that we did have some sort of committee to make an official
recommendation.
Yes, recommendation, inquiry, whatever it might be, the proper way to word that for it in the future. So I'll leave that open for the rest of you.
This is Emily, and it was a few years after I was president, I think, that they discontinued having the registration fee be free for past presidents. Again, it was the financial reasons. And this year I did sign up as a life member, and I don't know that it saved me much more than about $30.
That's not a huge saving.
But I participated in most everything.
Yeah.
This is Donna, and just some maybe some different viewpoints. It feels a little awkward if the past presidents go to the board or the membership and say, we think we're special, give us a break somewhere, because as we look at the membership in general, people have all kinds of different access to finances. Some of our members get their way paid as active members to go to the conference.
They do.
Some don't get anything. Some get something. So it's never a level playing field when it comes to the money issue. And
it is an uncomfortable thing, but we just started the conversation and wanted to see what you all thought, because remembering that it used to be done that way, and just wanted to have people talk about it. And however it turns out is fine.
Yeah. And Donna, I'll agree. So I think somehow, I 100%, and I'll say this to everybody, I think 100% that the past presidents need the registration at least waived. If you'll look back on what the board had to do, 10 years, 20 years, the responsibilities that they had back then are different now. So I think part of that is coming, and it is awkward, but I think part of that is that the board members now don't recognize because they just don't know, not a fault of anybody's, but they don't know the efforts that are put in, and people's money change from year to year. You can be a billionaire today and $10 owner tomorrow. So we're all, in that boat. But I do believe that if this could somehow go to a committee of individuals who are not past national presidents to present for the group. That's just my 2 cents.
This is Anna Mae. I've received that perk, and I was around when it was taken away. I thought it was short-sighted to remove that, and at least at that time, I think some of us were given the impression that people just simply thought we didn't deserve that. I don't think people realized how much personal money you invest in holding that level of position. It may be different, as you're saying, because maybe staff does a lot more and so on. But if you look at some of the major donors to the endowment fund, it's past presidents or has been over time, or I've known presidents that while they were in office gave money and so on. Now, maybe that isn't a good rationale, but I guess I find it interesting that all of a sudden the association can afford to send 2 people per state to the meeting or to other meetings. So I assume we are not broke. I assume there's plenty of money. Now I might be wrong because I'm not on the inside getting the scoop, but I find it interesting that a lot of things are being paid for. And I don't need the money. I don't care what, but I think we might deserve a perk. Financially, it's not an issue. So, but anyway, those are my experiences and thoughts.
This is Mary Ann, and I'm the one that had the privilege of sending the letter to you all, sharing with you that we were discontinuing that because of budget constraints. I'm also an individual that for the majority of my career, going to national meeting was out of my own personal pocket. And so my early mentors had told me you need to save, put it in your personal budget and plan for it. Then when things changed within our state, I had it paid. Then when I was on national board, it was taken care of. Now I live in a state and I am retired, but it's all back to everybody's own pocket. I understand and respect what every one of you has shared. I think Anna Mae's comment about that we're able to pay for so much, 2 people and on and on and on, that kind of thing. I think there's a piece to look at, and a couple of people mentioned it, is how that looks to the membership. Because sometimes the membership kind of looks at the national board because they don't understand how much we all have invested time-wise or financial. So they already think you're kind of better than the rest of us, and you're not. It's just that you're willing to use your time, your talent, and your money to serve on the national board. So I guess I'm like Donna. I really have some mixed feelings about putting that back. And I just kind of plan, and I think there's so many perks of getting together and what I now get to do, because you have the freedom when you're not going to all the meetings or the sessions if you choose not to. So yeah, I think it's pretty awkward to take this to the board and say we would like this back. And I know it doesn't matter what they do in any of the other associations. This is our association, but yeah, I've rattled long enough. And if it came to a vote right now, I probably would abstain.
It's Anna Mae again. Maybe from listening to you, it sounds like this might be part of a larger issue. of how the association is funding various registrations. Maybe it's part of a piece, and I would feel awkward about us going and asking to have it reinstated. I understand what Donna's saying, but maybe it really is part of a larger discussion that should occur, that we're only one little piece of, because you brought up some interesting points, Marianne, I think about, some of these are what, first timers getting their way paid. How does it, I mean, maybe that's an enticement though for more people to attend the meeting. So, there's pros and cons to everything, but yeah.
Just a related note, as I indicated when we started, that I went to ESP this year, the national meeting, and I was amazed at the amount of money that they were giving. If you did anything at all at that conference, you got a substantial amount of money.
And it's always been that way.
But it's more than it.
Was.
It's even more, and I think what we're seeing is a bit of a shift in the membership, that they're needing to see some benefits back from themselves in order for them to become involved and belong to an organization. It's just a shift a bit in mentality of why we do some of the things we do. No, I don't have a problem if there is a committee within the board, or the president appoints a committee to look overall at where there might be some benefits for members, and past presidents be considered a group that they look at. But for it to come from us, I don't think that will set well. It seems self-serving, and it would be better off if it came from outside of our group.
And this is why we have the discussion, to figure out if that's something you want done or not. But we had just talked about it long enough on that email that Terry just said, let's just talk about it and see where it goes.
And really, truthfully, I didn't feel uncomfortable putting it on the agenda because I had been approached in the last 2 years by a board member that this was something that was being discussed as when they were looking at all of the upgrading a lot of the membership benefits at the time. So that was, it wouldn't even have crossed my mind if I hadn't been approached. And then, like I said, we were just having this conversation over the summer, and we thought it might not be a bad idea to see what everybody, thought. So now we have an idea. Everybody, well, a lot of you have shared your thoughts. So, and we may be revisiting this again next year. Or whatever. This doesn't have to be the only time we talk about this.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think we're just trying to feel everybody out and get an understanding of those different viewpoints and perspectives. And I appreciate that very much. And we certainly don't want to be seen as self-serving. I don't think that's the intent, truthfully. I think it goes beyond that. But, if this is something that we'll just see where it goes.
And it wasn't our intention to have it be self-serving either. It was just a discussion, but it kind of was rooted in what you said earlier about they were bringing back all these benefits, and we just remembered one that used to exist.
Yeah.
Another comment that I think past presidents are more invested in coming to the meeting than a life member would be. And to give the life members the perks that they got this year with the options of choosing things they wanted to pay for might accidentally get more people coming. But I think past presidents do have more of a vested interest in coming back to see all you guys.
Well, if there's a way that you can tactfully put a bug in the ear of someone on the present board, that as they're having these types of discussions, that they think about where past presidents might fall. If it came from the board as a recommendation, then fine. That's different than coming straight from our group.
And this is Chris, and I would just add, that in addition to having that group consider past presidents, also some of the committee chairs because that was a way to encourage their attendance at the national meeting as well.
This is Diane, and I can say that, you know, we've offered, I think, 5 first-time attendee scholarships. We've offered a scholarship to each affiliate. We also offer scholarships to the Extension Leadership Conference and PILD. And the past couple of years, after each affiliate has had the opportunity, we've offered those scholarships to committee chairs as well. So, you know, we're trying to give everyone an opportunity to attend the meetings. And we have started giving, each award winner gets a full scholarship, and then second and third place receive a partial scholarship. And we also do a stipend for concurrent session presenters. They don't receive a full scholarship, but they receive a small amount just to help them out. So we've looked at those as member benefits.
This is Karen, and I've been trying to see both ways, but after thinking about this, I believe that a happy medium would be the past presidents who are retired would benefit from a fee registration waiver. The reason that I said that is because when I look at the past presidents, I don't see it self-serving that the past presidents were the one who had to take the extra effort to help make sure this association moved forward. As the presidents, there was a lot that we had to do beyond our personal work, and to have those who have retired have the opportunity to come to the national meeting. And we have to speak up for ourselves. There is no way that anybody that's sitting on the board would know that this is something that the past presidents are thinking about. So going to the board and asking them to think about having another level, which would be the past presidents who have already retired. That I don't see that should be a problem because of the service that we have all put forward for this organization and what we want this organization to continue to do. With our service that we have put forward, there's a lot of history there, and we have newcomers that have no clue about our history because they're coming from other disciplines. So having past presidents at the national meeting is enhancing the tradition and enhancing our future. So I would be much inclined to have retired past presidents to have fee waivers, because those of us who are still working, we have other sources to be able to pay for registration.
But not necessarily. Remember my comment earlier that some states will pay for people to go, some people will pay nothing, and some states pay something. So it's not equal in that.
Yeah, it's not equal, but the service that you have put forward to this organization, we have individuals that just have their name signed on that they are members and have done nothing or will do nothing. But what I'm saying, you can see your legacy. When you are a past president, you have put forth effort into help this organization thrive. And I think that you should, if you are retired, you should have something to come towards for appreciation. I'm not going to say a perk, I'm going to say appreciation.
Well, I was just saying there, I don't see a difference between retired and active past presidents. That's what I
And
was saying.
and then when you look at the actual numbers that we're talking about, this is not a large number of people, potentially. You know, we're talking maybe about 20, 22 individuals that might fall into that category. If we just said, you know, we're going to waive the registration fees of past national presidents for annual session. It's not a very large number overall. And it, you know, so it, but it's something, obviously this has been a very good discussion, I think, and I'm glad in a way it's being recorded so we can to help Laura Lee capture some of what everybody's been saying. You know, it's worth following up on. I'm not exactly sure how to proceed, but perhaps with Amy and Kathy, and I know Carol wasn't able to be on the call today, but maybe we can get some assistance from Diane, who's currently on the board, to see how to best proceed in a, you know, diplomatic manner, to kind of, you know, maybe plant that seed or at least revisit something. Because again, this, you know, all came up because of that outreach 2 years ago. So, you know, and I'm sure there's other things that the member resources committees are looking at in terms of member benefits. So I'm sure this wouldn't be the only item. Anything else?
Thank you, everyone, for having a good discussion about it. I think we can see there's a lot of different perspectives about it, and it doesn't mean we want to go in there marching in with the big sign and demand things. That's not the point of the conversation, but just give it some thought again. Thank you for talking about it.
Would, my suggestion would be that it not be approached as something that needs to be in the bylaws. That gets messy too, and it's really not. That's not the place for it. It could be something in the policy handbook so that it could be easily changed if necessitated by financial reasons on down the road.
Absolutely. Good point, Donna. I wrote that down.
If you get it in, if you try to do it bylaws, then you end up with you can end up with some real conversations and places you don't want the conversation to go during a business meeting, because I really don't want it to come off as we're entitled to this because we have done this for the association. I just don't believe that I'm entitled to anything. I did what I did because I wanted to do that, and I gained much from it. Now, would I see it as appreciation for my efforts? Yes. But I don't want it to dissolve into some kind of a conversation during a business meeting. No, well, why do you think you worked harder than me? I was chair of this committee and did this. And so if it's not a bylaws change, then it can be handled much easier.
Okay. Anything else?
I have a somewhat related topic if we're done with that topic.
Okay.
Well, Diane just mentioned that the board is giving many, I don't know, scholarships or awards for first-time participants. And that's what our award has been for forever. And I think I heard Roxy say we didn't have that many entries, people entering. I'm just wondering if we need to relook at our award. I don't know what it could be. I really have I have nothing in mind thinking, you know, what it could be, but it just seems like it's being duplicated. We're not getting that many applicants.
Well,
what do they get now?
Barbara, I'm thinking they get $500, right?
It's a $500 award, yes.
But it has to be a first-time participant, right?
I think we dropped that. We made some changes, and I'm sorry I don't have those in front of me now, but we extended, we dropped the first-time participant because what we were finding is that a lot of people were being excluded from the award application process because their state had just hosted a meeting a year ago or 2 years ago. And as you all know that have hosted one of these meetings, when you involve everybody in the state in actually putting on the meeting. So there were a number of people that didn't qualify for the award just because their state had hosted it or it had been as a part of a regional hosting or whatever. So we did change that part of it. And I think we extended it to 5 years in the first 5 years of employment.
This is Debbie. That is correct. And if you'll all look in the chat, Will has put the actual award qualifications, stipulations.
Yeah, you guys expanded it to 5 years, and it has to be used towards, there it is, number 2, the award recipient must attend the annual session where the award is presented. If not, then they forfeit the award. So your pool is always going to be smaller, perhaps, than any other award category, simply by virtue of the fact that this money has to be tied right back into annual session.
I think with the first timer scholarships, I think we are giving one per region and one at large. Is that correct, Will? Yeah.
Yeah, they are reviewed, and we make sure one at least from each region if it's possible, and then if the fourth one isn't, if the last one was then awarded based on merit and time, who applied first, basically, to have that chosen. And just so you guys know, the way that's worded is, Donna's right, that's not really a bylaws thing. All of our scholarships are worded in such a way that it's always with the stipulation of, as long as, because they're fueled by the net profits of the annual session. So it's stipulated that 5 first-time scholarships will be awarded based on the funds that we've collected. And we do that with awards too. We always say based on if there's enough money, right? So that way it's not something that 100% across the board, we're always going to do it. We're going to drive the budget into the red. Of course, we're not going to do that, right? It's always, we're going to keep it in the black. So if there's enough money, then yeah, we do first-time scholarships, we do affiliate scholarships, we do PILD, we do JSEP ELC, all other ones Diane mentioned. And we did add the second and third place partial scholarships, as was also mentioned, but it is stipulated that as funds allow. So that should be helpful. So you don't have to put it in stone. If you get it to be put before the board and it's a motion that's put forward and approved and whatever else, it can be worded in such a manner. And then that way, it's not something that has to be snatched back in a few years. If the association suddenly doesn't have the money to do it, it could just be basically suspended that year because it wasn't available. And I did make a comment, I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but another approach you could try is, we do have a committee that is the Membership and Life Member Committee. And that's a way that you could work. I know I've listened to all your comments about the self-serving and that concern. You could work through the committee, and then that way it could come through the committee as a recommendation. So it wouldn't even need a second. It would just, or it wouldn't even, it would just need a second. It wouldn't have to, have that motion made sort of thing. So that's another option for you guys to consider too, as you move forward.
Teresa, you're muted.
Here we go. Okay, we'll try that again. Anything else on this topic? Or what Cheryl brought up too?
I think it's a good idea to relook at the award, especially with the scholarships. It seems it's similar because it's by region as well. So I was thinking maybe something around leadership to the association or something like that.
So the focus of the award, you're saying.
Better a better way to award somebody's professionalism.
Okay. Is there a group of past presidents on this call that might be willing to take that on and revisit that award?
The award stuff just went out, didn't it, Will?
Right. November 15th is when the new manual went up, which this is taken directly from the manual. We captured those changes. And then the portal opened just today. So nobody's really applied yet. So if a last minute change needed to be made, we could probably squeak it in. But you may want to look at that for a change for 2023, like get all your ducks in a row and decide exactly what changes you want to make.
Yeah,
and then
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And then just to be clear, there's one national winner. They're the ones that get the $500 funds that you provide. Those other winners are just recognized by a certificate for their regional as well. So you guys are, just to be clear, you give them one $500 award to just the national winner.
I realize that, but it's still collected by regions.
I'm so sorry. What's collected by regions?
Well, it's still listed by region and they're recognized that way, even though it's just a certificate, but it does seem a little redundant to the other first-timer scholarships.
So back to your question, Terry, I'd be willing to work on that.
And
This is
Chris. Thank you, Chris.
But for 23, not for 22.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
I would also be happy to be a part of that discussion since we did it before. I have some notes somewhere about what our discussions were and why we changed it as we did instead of going further.
Great, thanks.
And I'll sit in on that conversation too. Okay, that sounds great. Thank you, everyone. The last thing I have here on our agenda for today is the overview of the leadership experience and recognition of past national presidents who are serving as mentors. And I'll turn that over to Debbie.
Okay. Here we go. We're going to look at some information here. Quite a few of you were involved in the development of the leadership experience. I have been on this committee. It's one of the member resources committees, and it's been chaired by the most incredible new and promising leaders in our association. Gina Lucas from Missouri was the chair of this committee. Lisa Peterson was involved. It was just an incredible group of leaders, and y'all, I'm so excited about what they did. Terry, one of the things that you used to talk about was perhaps developing an Ellen Swallow Richards Society. And I think what you're going to see here is that they did a masterful job of pretty much doing this. This group, and Roxy, you had a tremendous role in making all of this happen. And quite a few of you were mentors in this experience, but you see that in the October at Hershey, a lot of just intensive work began, and that the committee had 56 members by 2020. There were some objectives, and I'm not going to read through all of these, but the big one here is developing a mentoring program for new members. There was an application process that was developed by this committee. You're seeing the committee leadership here. Gina, Kylie, Lori, all incredibly involved and very creative people. I was honored to be on this committee. And they had wonderful, we had a wonderful kickoff with Speaker Jones Laughlin. Some of you know of him. And y'all, look at these wonderful fresh faces. There were 17 who went through as mentees. They applied, they were selected. Sarah Bridgewater, Dana Carey Elson. You hear the names, look at them. It's just fun reading about all of these chicks, and we're not going to take time to do that. But they were divided into 2 cohorts, and they had a little binder, and this material that you're seeing was in their binder. So more, this is cohort 2 you're looking at. And we're going to look at a map in just a minute. And Kylie, who was on the committee, also went through this as a mentee. And they had contact info for each of them. And here are the mentors. A lot of you know every single one of these. There were 18 mentors and 17 mentees. Isn't that a fun problem?
Mm-hmm.
You're about to see some pictures of, Lori was on the board this year. Some of you will go, oh yeah, great, there's Sharon. Sharon was a mentor. A lot of you know Glenda Hyde. What a great mentor. Karen Munden, there you are. Bob Woolen, a lot of you know her. Mary Liz. But y'all, this was the most wonderful program, and I'm not going to go through all of this, but this material is on our website. I'm going to stop sharing the screen, I think. Let's see.
No. Thank you for that, Debbie. I think it's so marvelous. You know, it was something I had talked about and thought about several years back about creating an Ellen Swallow Richards, like a legacy circle or whatever, and you know, inviting certain individuals to join and to develop them into future leaders so that they could go on to serve in you know, in positions or national committee chairs and so forth, to go through the rotation process. And it's just so exciting that it's come to fruition and it's been done so wonderfully well, and that so many people that I recognize those names of the mentors and some of the mentees too. So it's just another example of what this organization can do when you have an idea and you have the spark plugs to get the engine going, and you know, the sky's the limit. So it's just really, it's invigorating, it's inspiring, and congratulations to everybody that was involved, especially the past national presidents on this call.
And I'd like to give a shout out to Will Ferguson, because you know, he never told us no. He just enabled us to do really creative work. And Will, I thought it was just a fun project.
This is Roxy. I would like for y'all to know there was a purpose behind all of it. And the purpose was, why was I the only person running for a national board president at that time? Why were we having to pull teeth to get people to do such an honorable and educational, personal growth and professional development position? Why was I the only one? So we did a survey to find out, you know, why wouldn't everybody else want this opportunity for networking, to work with amazing mentors, to have this process and this experience in your life? So we did the survey, and this came from the survey, people not feeling confident enough, not having enough information about these positions. So you can also see the leadership ladder, where it shows you, so you want to be a committee chair, so you want to be on the state board, the national board. So it's almost like in Georgia for the Atlanta Braves, we call it like the farming program, where you train them up as you go. I had amazing support, amazingly groomed to be able to know where to go to places I didn't even know I wanted to go. But I was able to be led. And we are trying to start these individuals off early in their career to show them the way they can go. And we should have states, having to say, no, all of y'all can't run for these national board positions. Hang on, we have to have the best of the best, not just Roxy because she's the only person available. We want the best of the best. So we hope this is going to help for years and years to come.
Thank you, Rob.
I would just say about them, just real quick, thank you so much, Debbie. They did an amazing job. All of our committees have done some really amazing work this year. But of course, our mentors and mentees, and I've got some books I've got to mail out. The mentors are getting a book. The mentees are getting a different book. They're getting their certificates. I'm making those. So those are all going out to them. And they hope that in the future at annual session, they'll be able to have like a reunion, kind of like a separate event, where outside of any concurrent session they might do. So they're really trying to turn it into a year after year after year, building, this graduates basically of this like leadership group, and it's just, I was on all of their educational ones that they did for the mentees. They had amazing things that they shared. And yes, as Debbie said, that group pumped out. That what you saw, that was so much concentrated effort of this amazing group and their amazing abilities. And, I've watched some of these folks I had never heard of. I mean, I've talked to a lot of our members, but not all of them yet. And they just rose to the top, they just rose to the challenge and just kept, oh, I can shoulder that. Yeah, I can do that. So I'm always going to say yes, if there's any way I possibly can. It is my pleasure to work with each and every one of you and each and every one of our members, especially when they're building something so amazing. So thank you, Debbie. I will always say yes when I can.
Thank you, Will. Thank you. Yeah, it's like an elite alumni group now that they're going to have. It's going to be great. But the reunion idea is terrific. So thank you.
Question, Will. Are all the educational sessions that the mentees went through available for others to look at now, or is it kind of just in that group?
It's just in that group, and they did this really interesting things. I know we have Karen's also now joined us, and I don't want to take too much time here, but I think this is unique, and it was very, very well done. I think only the 2 cohorts of mentees were live during the presentation. And then we didn't let any of the mentors in. So that way they could feel, you know what I mean? Like that way the mentees could feel like they could really get to know each other and everything else. And what we did is we got the presentations pre-recorded, and those were made, they're all on the website, and or they will be. I'm not sure. I know we're still moving some stuff around there, but those will be available to the mentors. So you'll be able to watch the pre-recording so you can get the same information they did, just minus all of like the breakout rooms and the chit chat and getting to know each other. So that way the mentors are able to benefit from the mentee training as well, which I thought was a really neat and unique opportunity there to still give everyone the opportunity to feel like they're not being looked at by the mentors while they figure out what they're doing, but still allow the mentors to have that training. So if it's not up on the mentor page yet, Sharon, it will be. Each of the cohorts and the mentors get their own page that only they can log in and see all of that excellent information.
Okay. I knew they were going to do something like that, but I didn't know how broadly it would be available. There was some good, I taught in one of the sessions, and the other presentations were really good also. So that's why I had asked originally even about it.
Terry, I don't know if this is an old raised hand or a recent one, but Marianne had her hand up.
Yeah, I just saw. Yes, Marianne.
One of the things that I just wanted to mention to everybody, if you have not participated in your donation to the endowment, that is still an opportunity, and we would encourage you to do that. Diane had a campaign of at least 21, and I added or more to that. And I suggested a variety of ways that you all could do that, whether it be since you got money back from your annual session registration, you could turn around and put that in there. I don't have a list, but I know there are several of you that have contributed. And the second thing is, I think it would be neat, if not neat, I think it's necessary for our association to somehow get the word to state program leaders about the value of NEAFCS and this leadership mentoring piece. Because I know in my state right now, it's not being valued or recognized in regards to promotions or money put towards participating. And I think that's going to be an ongoing piece from state to state. So I would just like to see that become a discussion at the board meetings. If Diana, if you can pass that on, that we figure out a way, and probably if there's some way that we can send information, if we can make sure those program leaders are getting, I don't know, there would be all kinds of ways, but somehow we're losing traction, at least in my state. And since I got the mic, I just want to wish everybody a very, very happy Christmas, or Merry Christmas, I should say, a Happy New Year, and make sure to continue to take care of yourself.
And Marianne, just so you know, we invited all of the mentees to share with us who they wanted us to alert. That was another piece we did add to it. Unfortunately, not all of them did, but several of them did. And so I sent individual emails to, and we told them, your state program leaders, or, whoever your administrator, whoever you want to impress, right? Who do you want to know that you've done this awesome thing? And then NEAFCS, so it came from the office, so they could official, just saying, hey, did you know that, Bob over here has, this is what this program is, and Bob's participating, one of our inaugural class. And it was so gratifying. There were a couple of folks who responded, and they were just with overwhelming, like, we are so impressed with Bob, and this is awesome. And we, thank you for sharing this with us. We're going to make sure we celebrate it here at the local level. So it was very isolated, but hopefully in the next classes, we'll get more people to share. And any other ideas like that, certainly please let us know.
Just one thing on that, since come on a roll, because we need to get to Karen, but think about, it's only those few states that had somebody. So can we now put something together that we can send to all the state program leaders that didn't have somebody and say, here's an opportunity. We'd like to get more people involved, because I just know that's what's the conversation in Indiana, unfortunately. And I'm going to mute my mic and get educated on having fun food.
Since NEFA has moved to Kansas City, there have been some leadership changes. Caroline Krokel is no longer there. They had a director, but now they have an interim director. And we are inviting them to the meetings and making sure that we're having that conversation with them. So hopefully we can get back on track there. And one thing I want to make sure everyone knows is that this year, our friend of NEAFCS was Mark Mayhew. I mean, anybody that served on the board with Terry knows that he was right there with her. So he was our friend this year.
I have to tell you that was just amazing. I'm going to go back to screen sharing here real quick, just to get us back on track on the agenda. But he is at work. Hopefully he'll be rolling in while Karen's doing her presentation. But that was just really so special and very meaningful. So thank you on his behalf.
One thing that was in there when I did the presentation is he has attended enough annual sessions to be a board member if you.
And the funny thing is, it's so funny. I was on the call yesterday with Shauna and Maria. I'm mentoring them for the 2023 annual session. And Will had sent them a list of all of the active and life members in Eastern region. And my husband's down as a prospect. for membership. So Will, that was pretty hysterical, I have to tell you. I did a triple take. So
Terry, I hate to do this, but I want to call everyone's attention to the chat. And Roxy, thank you for the reminder about that. One of those who went through the leadership experience as a mentee passed away.
oh no.
Yes, one of the young women whose pictures you just saw, Anastasia Saunders from UT died.
Oh.
Yes, it's very, very sad and very sudden. So,
well, have a moment of silence for her.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Debbie, does that wrap up your report?
It does. Sorry to take so long.
Oh, no problem, no problem. I've included as in years past, the leadership rotation going forward. So next year, Laura Lee will have the pleasure of convening this meeting and Karen will be the secretary. And then you see it follows suit going up the line. And we're all the way up to 2026, knowing who's going to be doing what, which is always nice, something to look forward to. And as far as our future annual sessions, again, one thing I just want to mention in hopefully next year we will be in person in Raleigh and we'll have the pleasure of including a meal perhaps in our meeting and so forth. But I will tell you that I did have a challenging time trying to find a restaurant that could accommodate a group of our size and allow us to order off the menu and not get involved with any kind of contract or deposit in advance, which is really challenging for me to have taken that on. And so, of course, this year was exacerbated by the pandemic. It was very challenging to find restaurants that were open for lunch. There were more that were open for dinner. And I was trying to stay within walking distance of the Amway. So it was, as I said, challenging. So it's something we might want to look at, think about. Maybe we can do something different. It's always nice to break bread together. But again, I just wanted to share that. And I don't know, of course, Debbie wasn't able to do it this past, last year. And I don't know the experience. Kathy, San Antonio was great. Hershey, I know we dined off site, but again, it's sometimes very difficult. And that's just been that was my experience. I just wanted to mention that so that you were all aware. Can be challenging. So, the folks on the planning, the liaisons for Grand Rapids were terrific and trying to get me information. Elizabeth also was very helpful, but it was just really challenging to even get some of these restaurants to return calls or emails. There are a couple that I never ever heard from, and right in the Plaza Hotel itself, the complex itself. So just an interesting experience I wanted to share. So I'd like to, at this time, if people want to take a real fast break, if you need to do anything really quick here, we're going to get set up for Karen's program. And she's been listening in. And I know she was coming from another program in the area here. But Karen does a fabulous job of presenting nutritional education via Zoom. She's become quite the Julia Child of our area here, and really brings a fun approach and a really innovative way to share information with a variety of audiences. And I've had the pleasure of sitting in on several of her classes and cooking along with her. And I've learned so much in the process. So I was really happy that she was available and able to do a program for us, getting us ready for the holiday season, which was one of the reasons I asked everyone in the beginning, what your favorite holiday treats were. It was a warm up for this. And so some of you may just be listening along and watching. Some of you may be actually ready to create some of these wonderful dishes. I'm going to try to go along with her as she cooks. I'm not as fast a chopper as she is, but I still have all my fingers, and she does too. So Karen is a nutrition resource educator with Cornell Cooperative Extension in Albany County. Prior to that, she worked for the Women, Infants, and Children program with Catholic Charities in Columbia and Greene counties. And she also worked for Cooperative Extension in Columbia and Greene counties where I worked. And that's how I initially got to know Karen. So Karen, I think I've made you a co-host so you can share your screen. She's going to go through a short little presentation, and then she's going to get into the food prep end of it. So Karen, I'll let you take it away. I'll stop sharing.
Okay. Thank you, Terry.
Yep.
And thanks everyone for staying on. I hope this will be a fun event, fun part of the meeting for you. And like Terry said, if you are going to cook along or make one of the beverages, you can start getting your materials out. First, I want to share a few slides. I'd just like to get everybody grounded. All right, I'll do it this way. So you received a little packet of recipes that Terry shared with you, and I want to thank Terry for doing that. We went through a lot and considered a number of other appetizers and beverages to share, but these are the ones we settled on. And these are all mocktails or non-alcoholic beverages. If you are at home and you want to add some of the optional ingredients, you can. But a lot of what I'm going to talk about tonight is how fun it can be to make and drink mocktails, which are non-alcoholic. And the appetizers that we chose were the blackberry goat cheese crostini and scrambled egg muffins with veggies in them, and a fun chocolate mousse cuppetizer. So I think you'll enjoy not only making these, but eating these later if you decide to. So as you know, appetizers are meant to help create an appetite. A lot of the restaurants you go to nowadays, the appetizers are actually full of calories and fat and enough for the whole day, like over 1,000 calories or 1,200 calories in something like a blooming onion. So that's not the kind of appetizers we're making or talking about. We're talking about small, light, beautifully presented veggies, cheeses, maybe pickles, definitely healthy dips like salsa, hummus, guacamole, or bean dip, or yogurt-based dips. And those are all guilt-free and delicious. And having fresh fruits and vegetables cut up and easy to chomp into, your guests will appreciate that, having those healthier options. And of course, whole grain crackers or breads can be a good part of your appetizer tray or charcuterie board. Layering the bright vegetables among smaller strips of meat or cheese and party stacks can be fun. And wraps and rolls. I mean, everything looks better in a little baked cup or a wrapper, like a wonton wrapper or a little tortilla shell. And in general, use less cheese, go for smaller amounts of cheese and maybe sharper flavors. So they go a lot longer, they go a long way, the flavor of the sharper cheeses. And try some of the lower fat varieties. Maybe they don't melt as well as the regular versions of the cheese, but they are just fine eaten raw, without cooking them. So other things to include on your appetizer trays are nuts. They are high in calories, as you know, but they're full of nutrients. So think again of small portions, just like of the cheeses, think small portions of nuts. Maybe try roasting them or toasting them with savory blends of spices and serve in small cups to your guests. Again, lighten up on the dips. Bean dips can add a lot of nutrients and fiber and a great creamy texture without as much fat as, say, sour cream or cream cheese based dips. And you can try grilling fruit if you haven't tried grilling like slices of pineapple or pineapple chunks or slices of or even half peaches, peach halves, I should say, on a grill can be really delicious. And you can serve that with a sauce or a dip. And seafood, of course, is a healthy choice for an appetizer and can be served with a zippy cocktail sauce on a toothpick. Then as far as the mocktails, they can be very artfully styled. They can be as complicated as you want, but focus on the scents and the flavors of the fruits, maybe of some fresh herbs or like mint sprigs for the top or citrus. Stir up a modern fusion. And I'll be sharing a list of books that I found through my local library of mocktail ideas. But you find them, I think they're having a moment right now. You find them in most of the major magazines or newspapers, even if they have a food section. If you still read a newspaper like I do, you can find ideas for non-alcoholic cocktails. But put your own spin on a classic concoction, and this is your chance to be creative with it. This is one of the books, Mocktails, Punches, and Shrubs. And if you want to know what a shrub is, I'll be telling you about that in a minute. Cocktails and mocktails often have simple syrups added to them. And it can be as simple as sugar and water or other sweeteners and water. But you could also use honey, agave, or sugar in the raw. A rough recipe is equal parts sweetener to water, then add 1/4 of the volume of flavoring, like herbs or fruit that you want to have in your drink. So for example, 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of water, 1/4 cup fruit or herbs. Boil it, let it cool, and then strain it and store in the fridge and use within a month. If you're like me, I don't like my cocktails on this or mocktails on the sweet side, so I use a lot less sugars or simple syrups or sweeteners. This is a recipe for a mocktail that was shared by Maine Extension. This past summer, I took a class for Drink Your Harvest. Maybe some of you have seen that. Of course, the tequila is optional, and I'll talk about some substitutes you can use for some of the alcohol in a minute. But 1 part fresh lime juice, 3/4 part simple syrup, 1 part fresh beet juice. You can either make that yourself or you can actually find it in the store. I found a bottle of it in my local grocery store. And 1 part ginger beer. And ginger beer is not alcoholic. It's sort of on the order of ginger ale, but stronger, a stronger ginger flavor to it. Often it has less sugar in it actually than ginger ale. Ginger ale is generally carbonated water with a ginger flavoring added to it, whereas ginger beer is actually made from fresh ginger. And you can add fresh mint sprig to that. And if you have a cocktail shaker, this is the time to take that out and use. It's kind of fun to shake up your cocktail with some ice and strain it. And then top it with ginger beer and fresh mint. Whoops, I didn't put that on there, but so layering, I talked about that, wraps and rolls, okay, that's a repeat. Shrubs, if you've never heard of a shrub, it's not just a bush out in your yard, it's actually a drink. And it's usually an infusion of fruit into vinegar with sugar that helps to preserve the flavor and keep the color of the fruit and captures the fleeting harvest. So it's usually made in the summer with fresh raspberries, cherries, plums. We are going to make a plum shrub tonight, and we caught the tail end of the season of the plums. It's one of my favorite fruits. So if you're Mickey, I hope you didn't have any trouble finding fresh plums. But if you do, you could use something else like, I know they still have fresh cherries, or you may have some in your freezer, or canned. I can plums as well. I make some spiced plums and can them in canning jars. But so it is a good way to use up what is in your freezer if you want, because you're going to cook the fruit and add sugar to it, get the flavor out of it. And then it doesn't matter if it's lost its good texture that it used to have before you froze it. It still tastes very good. So let's start with good quality fruit, not overripe or moldy, of course. And to prevent spoilage, sterilize your jar, boil it in water for 10 minutes. And a basic recipe for a shrub would be equal parts fruit and sugar and herbs. And then let it sit in the refrigerator for a few days. Shake it or mash it every day. You may have a muddler you could use. I'll show this on the other camera in a minute. And then you strain it and add equal parts vinegar. And then when you go to serve it, you dilute it with seltzer or club soda. So it just makes it fizzy. And because what the shrub will actually be pretty thick, very strong flavored. So you want to dilute it with the seltzer. So if you're looking for a substitute for a vodka cranberry drink, you can use cranberry lime soda or other sparkling soda, a splash of juice, and a lime twist. They sell all these mixers. I'll show this on the other camera. This is blurry, but this is a craft mixer, cranberry and lime. And it says right on there, pairs with vodka, gin, tequila, and whiskey. But it also will be just fine with a fizzy soda, like Fresca or something like that. Or because that's really guilt-free because there's no calories in it. Then you just add maybe a splash of cranberry juice and a lime twist. And instead of mimosas, you can add sparkling water or sparkling peach juice. I found sparkling peach juice when I was looking for sparkling apple juice. And it's delicious and fizzy. And you won't even miss the champagne. I thought of Terry when I saw the hot toddies. I saw a recipe using hot Earl Grey tea, lemon juice, honey, and a cinnamon stick. And that's instead of Fireball whiskey, or if you want, you do have the option of adding Fireball whiskey, Terry. I know she's a tea drinker too. Moscow mules are very popular right now, and they have a warming flavor, and they're made with ginger beer and gin actually, but the ginger beer is non-alcoholic, or you could use ginger ale if you can't find ginger beer, a squeeze of lime juice, a wedge of lime. So and you serve it in one of those beautiful cups, and you'll feel like part of the party. So just wanted to chime in that, make this a holiday to remember as you're gathering with your friends and family, and give a toast to your health. We've had a rough year, and but we do have a lot to celebrate. And you'll get a copy of these slides, and these are some of the books I referred to find some recipes. And I'll be trying more out this winter, I'm sure. They're a lot less expensive if you're not adding alcohol to them, of course. And I don't know about you, but I tend to get a headache if I drink most wines now, but some of the alcohols too. So my body's trying to tell me something. So there's a lot of reasons to look into the mocktail recipes. So happy, healthy holidays to you and to yours. And I hope you can make them extra special this year. So I'm going to stop sharing that. And try going to my overhead camera so I can start talking through the recipes and showing you how to make them. Or something.
Here we go. Do I see eggs? I do.
Okay. All right, so I thought I have my oven on at 350, and the first two recipes I want to try assembling are the crostini, because I have to toast the bread, and I have started slicing a small baguette here, and I'll slice some more and then put them on a cookie sheet.
Karen, the picture we have is not in focus. Whoop, nope. We're seeing whatever the extension is out there. I just wanted to say that Karen was saying that this is the season where if you are looking, through magazines and newspapers. I know Parade Magazine last weekend had a whole thing about holiday cocktails, and they actually had a ginger, orange, and cranberry martini recipe that called for sugared cranberries. And of course, that got my attention after my cranberry compote experience I related to you all from yesteryear. So they had a really great recipe there for doing that. So you just never know where you're going to see these things popping up. So is anybody, I know Karen's off right now, but is anybody going to try to prepare any of these, if not today, in the next several weeks or sometime later this winter? Is anybody going to take a stab at trying the shrub? I mean, I found that all very fascinating, the history behind that. I guess it's steeped in, well, actually, those recipes came over from Britain in England and were brought to the colonies. So it's kind of a fascinating history just to learn about that.
So I'm just finishing
perfect.
Cutting up this crusty bread, which was a mini baguette. And I have a cookie sheet that I'll put it on. And it has to cook for 8 to 10 minutes, I believe, till it starts to get crusty brown on the outside. I'll be right back.
And of course, she washed her hands and everything.
And while I have the oven on, I will be making the scrambled egg muffins, or they could be called mini quiches or egg bites. I found some Christmas cupcake paper. You don't have to line your pans, but I find that it saves a lot of cleanup. So I did line mine, and I'll also spray them with one of the cooking sprays. If you're using just the pan without the papers, definitely spray your pan because the egg will stick.
This sounds like a good alternative to those breakfast casseroles that are so popular with groups.
What kind of casseroles?
Breakfast. Usually it's something like hash brown casserole or
yeah.
Strata.
Yeah, and I know places like Starbucks, they sell these egg bites, they call them, without a crust or anything on them. And I think they cost at least $3 or $4, but you can make them yourself and they freeze beautifully. I bought these eggs locally from a farmer. Some of them were blue. So you get 6 eggs. And let's see here, and I put a little bit of milk in. I don't think it called for any milk, but I always put little eggs in milk in my scrambled egg. You could choose what kind of vegetables you want to add. The more the better, the more variety the better, of course. Since you may be using these for the holidays for your company, you may want to have green and red vegetables. And I started cutting some up earlier, if I can find them here on my table. There. These are some tomatoes and broccoli and some red pepper. And the red pepper happens to still be from my garden. I saved some in the refrigerator. Oh, I was going to cut that up. You could steam the broccoli ahead of time if you want. In fact, that's what I did when I made this earlier today. In a little saucepan, especially if you're putting the stems in. I would recommend just steaming it for a minute or two. You could put spinach in, you could put mushrooms. What else do I have on that list? Onions, of course. And just spread them out in the little cupcake pans.
And you're chopping them pretty small though, Karen, aren't you?
What's that?
You're chopping them like bite size or smaller to fit in the.
Yeah, I'm cutting them up pretty small.
Okay.
All the vegetables. Which vegetables are you using, Terry?
I'm gonna do some peppers and onions. And I also got some tomatoes. I have some grape tomatoes I'm gonna cut up.
You can use any kind of tomatoes. I just happen to have some cherry tomatoes in the house.
Yeah.
Whatever you would put into an omelet. You don't add the cheese until it's has been baking for a while. You just add the cheese in the last 3 or 4 minutes. You can add some salt and pepper to the egg. I think it even called for some garlic, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Garlic powder, yeah.
Yeah.
Pour this in.
Actually, this is a great kind of recipe if you're cleaning out your refrigerator too of some of your veggies, any leftovers.
First time what?
I said this is a great recipe to use, like, you know, leftovers you have, you know, leftovers from other recipes, you know.
Yep.
Yes.
I'm probably filling them up a little too much.
I was thinking like the kitchen sink casserole.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to, you could add a little bit of bacon or ham leftover. Not everyone in my house likes red pepper, so I'm trying not to put red pepper in everyone. I'm waiting for the broccoli to get done too, so let me just hold off on these last 3, but I'll go ahead and put these in the oven. Broccoli. That should be done. Right back.
So for those of you that are on the call, while Karen's off screen for a minute, how many of you are cooking this year for Christmas? Or Christmas Eve or New Year's?
Bread is, I think it's done enough. I don't like it to get too hard. Were you saying something, Terry?
I was just wondering how many people were going to be cooking for the holidays this year, whether it was Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, New Year's. You know, a lot of people are still kind of shy about going out to restaurants. And one of the things I was just going to say, Karen, is the fact that these are being served in the muffin size, it's just a lot easier for handling then if you have it on your table. So that Donna was talking about how uncomfortable she was going to a conference where it was all buffet, like smorgasbord style. So being mindful of individual servings is really good.
Yeah. This is I did these slices. I baked them ahead of time so I could, and I softened the goat cheese so I could go ahead and show you how to assemble the crostini. If you're making them at home, let the toast basically, let it cool down and then put the goat cheese on. If you don't like goat cheese, and some people don't, you could use just the reduced fat cream cheese instead, has a milder flavor. You could get your kids to help you with this, or your grandkids if you have children in your life. This is something easy for them to help with. And then it calls for blackberry jam. You could use that or another jam of your choice. If you have raspberry on hand or something like that, you could definitely use a different flavor. And then you just top these little bread crust, cheese and jam with some pistachios, chops of pistachios. These are super easy and quick. Oops, I've got the cheese on those two. Terry, you were thinking about having Christmas music too, right? Did you end up finding any? Whoops. No, you found your hat. So those are all ready. And if you didn't have crusty bread, you could also use whole grain crackers or whatever, graham crackers or whatever you like. So the scrambled egg muffins take 20 to 25 minutes. And like I said, I will take them out to put the cheese on for the last couple of minutes. So I wanted to share a few recipes for the drinks. And starting with the simplest one, actually, it's not the plums. Plums are the hardest one. Let me clean this up a minute. Actually, I don't need this propane board anymore. So the pear cranberry sparkler could be made with champagne, but I'm offering a few other examples of or substitutions for the champagne. And that could be sparkling apple juice or sparkling pear juice. Doesn't have to be this brand. This is just a store brand, but it's really good. And pear nectar, which again, it doesn't have to be this brand, but this is actually a diet pear nectar. And pear nectar is basically just pear juice that's been sweetened. It's a little bit thicker. So let's put this together.
So you were saying, Karen, that if you couldn't find pear nectar on its own, just getting pear slices in a can, you could use the juices that it was packed. Were packed
in the can of canned pears. You could use that juice. I'm putting a slice of fresh pear in and some fresh cranberries. And it calls for a little bit of cranberry juice, 2 ounces. And I'm mixing it right into the cup. 2 ounces of pear nectar. Parts. And the 1 tablespoon of fresh cranberry. So I'll put some more cranberries in. And then the sparkling juice. See how fizzy this is.
Ooh.
And you should chill this sparkling juice as you would champagne. So it's nice and cold. And then there are some festive looking straws you can add to that, paper straws. Whoops. Terry, are you making this one?
I'm going to. I'm still chopping my veggies for my scrambled egg muffins.
Okay.
I'll be done by midnight.
Anybody have any questions so far?
Guess not.
Okay. So the other 2 beverages were the ginger date cooler. And that involved finding the big soft dates called medjool dates, if I pronounce that correctly. They are usually in the grocery stores this time of year for the holidays. They're the kind that people stuff. They're nice and big and soft. They're the best quality date you can find. These would work. These are smaller, but they're soft. They're just regular Joel brand in the regular grocery store. So what you do, you start out by, I put my date in water just so that it would start softening up, because I tried this earlier in the day and it was a little tricky to start muddling it, which means smashing it, crushing it, so that the flavor of the fruit goes into the drink that you're going to make. So since I put it in water, this one is definitely softer. Let me just pour some of the water out.
I have to say that I did have it was challenging for me to find dates in my store. And then the store I did end up finding them in, where they had them on display, it was amazing. Anybody could find them. They were kind of tucked underneath one of the open displays, the box displays. So it was really a stroke of luck that I found them, but it was
maybe you could ask at your store if you can't find them.
Oh, I did ask, and the one young man, he was trying to help me. He was trying to get the manager. He couldn't get the manager, and it was just a fluke that I happened to look down, and there they were. And it was like a aha moment. And I do go get him then and show him where they were, and he was very grateful. Because they can be a seasonal thing depending on the size of your grocery store. And it was the same with the plums. Getting to the tail end of the plum season, at least up here in the Northeast.
Okay. So this recipe calls for a pinch of salt, sea salt if you have it, ground cumin, and a pinch of black pepper. So I'm putting that in. And then 3 tablespoons of lime juice. I'm using this, but you can use whatever you found. And the gin is optional. They say it's hard to find a substitute for gin because it's pretty special. But you could, it says here, try tonic water mixed with a splash of citrus juice or non-alcoholic syrups flavored with botanicals. So I'm putting in some ice cubes and then I'll shake it as soon as I find my top. Do you have a shaker, Terry?
I don't. That's something Santa can bring me if I'm going to get into this full time.
Supposed to let it stand for 5 minutes and then shake it.
Hey, Mark.
Oh. You saw him in the back. He snuck in.
Mascot Mark.
Come here, dear. Everybody wants to say hi.
Where are they?
Well, just look in here. Here he is.
Hi.
He's your friend and mine.
I have to make dinner, so I have to go out.
Yeah, he's eating a little bit ahead of me tonight because he's going to a memoir writing class. He's going to write about his NEAFCS experiences.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know it either.
So I strained it, so that gets out all the parts of date. And then you're supposed to add ginger beer, more ice. And ginger beer comes in all sorts of, it comes in cans or bottles. It comes in diet or regular.
I found 4 packs at Target.
You found what?
4 packs of the little.
Yeah, 4 packs, either bottles or cans. And then I found this big bottle of diet ginger beer for when you're having a party. It's a liter. And so that's done. Serve it with a lime wedge and add some, maybe some lime soda or, let's see, good old half and half or Fresca again would be a substitute for the gin. You would never miss it. Okay, so the most complicated drink is the shrub. And that's the plum chili shrub. And Terry had to really look to find plums. I found it in my local store before Thanksgiving. I found a good supply. And they were pretty hard when I got them. And now they're starting to soften up. And as they ripen, they get more red on the inside. So it's easy to get the pits out of them because they have softened up. And then you're supposed to just coarsely chop them. Carrie, tell me if you need me to slow down or anything.
Oh no, go ahead, Karen. I'm watching right now. I'm probably gonna do this after we end our call today. Boy, they look amazing now.
What's that?
I said they look amazing.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I did want to share, when I was having difficulty finding the plums, I was able to find prune plum cake and pastry filling. Karen said this is not really the same. So I was glad I was able to find the actual plums, but it was kind of fun going shopping for these ingredients and really kind of testing my knowledge of the layout of my stores that I shop at. I really only, maybe like many of you, just shop at one primary store and then I fill in at others. But it is interesting. There are some real differences from store to store, from national chains or regional chains. So.
So this involves adding almost a cup of sugar to the plums, and then you heat the sugar and the plums up and add the vinegar. Let me go to the right page here.
The white
and chili powder. And the other ingredient that you may not have in your local grocery store is called golden syrup. And I shared the recipe with Terry for that if you want to make it on your own, or you could use another sweetener. It's really not that critical.
The Caro syrup, right?
Yeah, you could use something like Caro syrup or cane syrup. I guess I had never really heard of golden syrup, but it's famous in the English or the Great British, the baking shows from Great Britain is what I'm trying to say.
Yes. And
it's really just water, sugar, and lemon juice. That's all it is. And you cook it slowly and it turns into a syrup. It gets darker, like amber brown. I'll show you. I made some earlier today.
I'm going to send the recipe for the golden syrup and also the copy of Karen's slides out following tonight's program. So everybody will be able to get that.
Okay. I have sugar here somewhere. But I'll put this on the, there it is. I'll put this on the stove to heat up. And again, you won't be drinking all this sugar. You'll get a small amount of this shrub in the bottom of your glass, and then you add club soda to the top. So you're adding it basically to a syrup. It's going to come out to be like almost like a syrup, very flavorful. All right, I'll be right back. The main thing to remember about the shrub is that you have to let it in the refrigerator for 3 days before you serve it. So it says the recipe says to strain it and then refrigerate it, but I would recommend putting it in a jar and putting it in the refrigerator with the fruit still in it. Don't strain it right away because a lot of the flavor will come out of the fruit as it sits. And then, like I said, when you serve it, you add club soda and ice. And I think Terry mentioned that shrubs were developed in England and then used in New England as kind of like their Gatorade, as a refreshing drink when they were out working in the fields. And they didn't have lemons or limes for like a pick-me-up in their drinks, like lemonade. So they gave their drinks a zing with the vinegar, I guess. So that's the shrub. And then the one appetizer, which is also more of a dessert, because a sweet appetizer, is the mini chocolate mousse cups. And this is fun to make, and it involves using reduced fat cream cheese, a whole block. And you have to have your mixer and some marshmallow cream, which I haven't had in the house for almost 30 years, I think, but.
Yeah, Mark was excited when he saw that I brought that home.
So this is special. This is
the Fluffer Nutter sandwiches.
Right. Are we doing okay on time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you're doing good, Karen.
Okay, so I have the cream cheese and the fluffer, well, the fluff, I guess it's called. 7 ounces, so I'll try to estimate that. And then you need unsweetened cocoa powder. Cream these together.
Thank you for muting.
I have a little spatula here somewhere. I'll use this spoon. And I think it's a 1/4 cup of the cocoa. Oh, here's the spatula.
Yeah, yes, it is, Karen. And then a teaspoon of the vanilla.
And a little bit of vanilla, right? A teaspoon?
Yep, a teaspoon, yep. Wow.
And anything else?
No, well, then you're gonna fold in the 1/4 cup thawed frozen whipped dessert topping.
Right.
After you beat the other
I'm
things together.
using Cool Whip Light. So trying to cut back on the calories on this as much as I can. Thing goes too fast. I think I'm just supposed to stir this in anyway. Right?
It says gradually beat in the cocoa powder and the teaspoon vanilla, then you fold in the Cool Whip Light.
I can't use the mixer?
Well, yeah, you could, I guess. Yum.
I was surprised when I made this up earlier that I thought it was going to be a bigger batch.
Yeah, it does seem like it would be. Well, that should extend it some.
Yeah, I'll soften it up a little bit. So then you can decide what kind of cups you want to use to serve it, because it's an appetizer or a dessert that you can serve in an individual cup. And I actually found a couple of espresso cups in my cabinet, and I use it, and it looks cute. It kind of looks like cocoa or something. And then you also have a choice of toppings. You can add fruit, like I think it would be really beautiful and tasty with strawberries, whole strawberries or maybe cut in half. And then they also recommend raspberries. You can put raspberries or blueberries on a toothpick and serve it with the cup, or mini pretzels.
Yeah.
Or graham crackers.
And the cubes of the angel food cake with like the fruit at the other end of that is really great. If you stick it in on a toothpick.
What's that, Terry?
Doing the angel food cake cubes and then.
Oh yeah, cubes of angel food cake, right?
Yeah, yeah, really festive. I found these little tiny cups the other day at Target because I'm really getting into the charcuterie type things, and not only for appetizers like the beginning of the meal, but I just saw one in a magazine about dessert charcuterie boards. So I'm going to try that for I think New Year's. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun putting it.
So these are the little espresso cups that I found.
Yeah, those are
kind of cute in there too.
Yeah, it's nice because they have a handle.
What's that?
It's nice that you can hold them with the handle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had two different kinds, but you could also serve them in disposable cups, like plastic cups or the little paper Dixie cups. I think my family will like this. Again, just, you know, it's a little treat for the holidays. Not something you would have every day.
Right.
But,
moderation.
It was surprisingly good, I thought. So let me switch cameras. And see if anybody has anything else they want to add. Any ideas they got or how they may use these recipes or not.
Well, I'm looking forward. I thought I could actually cook along with you, Karen, but I fell behind with my early prep, but I'm going to be making up the scrambled egg muffins and doing some of the drinks and probably the other appetizer, the crostini. You know, I'm going to sample them later this evening and this weekend. So I think it's fun to try new things. I know it's also great to fall back on those old reliables or the family favorites, but the whole shrub thing, I did take part. Karen did do a drinking your harvest class earlier this year, and it was really kind of fascinating and a lot of fun. So the whole shrub thing just struck me as just being really cool. So I hope you all enjoyed that. And as I said, I'll send out Karen's slides and also the recipe to make your own golden syrup. I don't know if any of you on the call do your own, make your own wine or other I mean, I remember stories of my dad when they had the stills down in the basements during Prohibition. We're not suggesting anything quite like that, but I hope that you enjoyed this, and I appreciate Karen taking the time to do the presentation. She was working from her home, if you didn't surmise that, in her kitchen. And so I hope everybody had fun, and it was great seeing so many of you. Does anybody have any other comments and any questions or anything they'd like to share with Karen or anyone else on the call? Oh, they look fabulous, Karen.
Just going to sprinkle some cheese on the top and put them back in for a few minutes.
Very colorful.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So did you get 6 muffins or did you do 8?
There's 11 here.
Oh, so you have, okay, because the
6
recipe
eggs.
called for like 6, I think.
6 eggs, but they make almost 12 muffins.
Oh, okay. Because it said serve 6, so it's 2 per person.
I think you can eat 2.
Okay. Okay. Probably gonna eat more than 2. That's dinner tonight, most likely. So. All right, so let's see.
This fall, I tried making limoncello.
Oh, yeah.
Well, how did that go?
It went pretty well, actually. I was surprised. You need some nice vodka and lots of lemons.
Mm-hmm.
They had given me a whole bag of lemons, so I was all set to try it out.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard of people that do that at Christmas time. They give that as gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Oh, so we were hearing from some people in the comments here, Karen. Happy holidays. Let's see. Debbie had to skip out to go to a rehearsal. Oh, Donna Donald said she wants to try the goat cheese blackberry crostinis. Good. Oh, Laura Lisa, she's going to try some of them. So that's great. Yeah, I mean, we realize, of course, you know, it's kind of challenging with the time difference too. For some of you, it's still kind of, you know, earlier in the day. So, which is why I said to Karen, we have to make sure we do mocktails, not just cocktails. But so we hope you had some fun with this. And I'd like to thank Karen so much. She's a dear friend of mine, and she really puts her all into it. And it's been a year of growth for her too, and all of our community educators, especially those in nutrition, that have learned to shift gears and cook from their homes, or you know, when they're able to go into their offices. Here in New York, a lot of the cooperative extension associations, they don't have all the staff reporting at the same time still. They're still on some staggering schedules, and people are not necessarily going into the office. It's a lot of remote learning still. So although Karen is going out to some locations, but we're pretty heavy on the mask business here in New York right now. COVID cases are up in the greater capital district. So, you know, everybody's trying to be cautious. So, but it shouldn't hold us back from having as joyous a holiday season as we can have. And so we hope that you've all enjoyed this, and that you might venture out of your comfort zone and try some new things, you know, and let us know. I'd be happy to share that feedback with Karen if you try any of these and what you find, how you like them, and any modifications you might suggest. So I think, let's see, Christine's hoping everybody has a safe and happy holiday season. Yes, and Sharon, thank you. You're welcome. Mary Ann, thank you. So thanks, everybody. We hope you had fun. Have a great holiday and take care. And hopefully we'll be seeing each other in person next year in Raleigh. Thanks again, Karen. And thanks.
You're welcome. Thanks, Terry.
Whoever's
I'll
left.
stay on.